Hello folks, this is Singing Toad, and today what I'd like to talk about is a subject that I was discussing with a friend recently, and that is about knockoff Swiss Army knives. So when I talk about imitation or, fake Swiss Army knives or copies, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm at a loss right here. Counterfeit, is that the term? I don't exactly know if I want to call it a counterfeit. In this one here, I wouldn't call it counterfeit because it doesn't have any markings on it, where it's definitely trying to imitate an actual proper Swiss Army knife. But where this all came about is I was talking to a friend of mine who had been passed down a Swiss Army knife, well, what he thought was a Swiss Army knife, and he'd carried this thing for years. And I actually pointed out to him that it wasn't a real, authentic Swiss Army knife. Now, it's not this one here in the video. If you haven't already figured out, this is the imitation one. But it was a different one. It looked actually more like this, tell you the truth, like this camping style model. I was not able to determine what the model was. It was just a Chinese-made knockoff Swiss Army knife, but it was pretty well made. And that conversation that I had with him is what made me decide to do this video today. So maybe there are folks out there who have a Swiss Army knife in their collection, and they don't even realize it's not a real one. So how can you spot a fake Swiss Army knife? Now, the only one I have in my collection that is a legitimate fake Swiss Army knife, because I don't own any fake knives. I don't support or condone fake knives or counterfeit knives at all whatsoever. So like I was saying, I don't support any fake counterfeit knives. I don't support that at all whatsoever. And I know people come up with excuses for why they buy a fake knife or a counterfeit knife. I don't support it. Straight up, I don't. But anyway, if you do happen to have a Swiss Army knife and you're not sure if it's authentic or not, let's go ahead and see if we can figure out what would make this one an obvious fake versus two authentic ones that I have here. So let's take a look here. So first and foremost, on the outer scales, you have no emblem whatsoever. Now, I don't even remember where I got this. I think this was in some sort of a Walmart like fishing kit thing, because it does have this, oops, this like fishing tool thing on the side. It's supposed to be like a fish scaler and like a hook remover. Swiss Army does make, I think, called the Fisherman, and it actually has like ruler on the side as well. So that's one dead giveaway. Is this has no markings on the side whatsoever. In fact, there's very few markings on this knife at all, to tell you the truth. So the first big dead giveaway is no handle scale markings whatsoever. Okay. So obviously, if you look at an authentic Swiss Army knife by Victorinox, you've got the Victorinox shield. This happens to be the camping model. There's typically nothing written on the other side, but sometimes there can be a company logo. That's not abnormal to see, but you're definitely going to get this shield here. Over the years, this shield has changed. Now, the Wenger designed Swiss Army knives have a slightly different shield, and they too are authentic. But the two prolific Swiss Army knives out there is Victorinox and Wenger. Of course, Wenger doesn't exist anymore. They were actually bought out by Victorinox. So in a certain sense, Wenger still does exist these days. Of course, on this guy here, this is an Alox model. This is the Pioneer X, if I remember correctly. And again, it just has the shield on the outside. And then there is a spot on the back for engraving. If we go into the actual tool itself, the biggest giveaway for me is just the absolute lack of quality. All right, like the lack of fit and finish. Everything is just like this knife. It's pinched in. I don't know how well the camera will show this. Forgive me, folks. This camera's not very good. But I mean, it's actually wider here than it is here. Even though it's like 3 layers here, it pinches inward, and it pinches inward this way as well. You can actually see that it's pinches inward. It's just very poorly made. It's all just pressed out steel, and this is like the cheapest of cheapest steels. I don't even know what it is. It's a mystery steel. So let's look at the main blade here, and I don't know if the camera can show this, but the only marking on the blade is the word stainless. That's it. There is no other identification on this whatsoever. All right. If we look at a conventional Swiss Army knife, and I'm not sure how well the camera will show this, but it does say Victor Einex Swiss made. And then at the very bottom, it does say stainless. Sorry, my eyes aren't the greatest here, folks. So I don't know how well you can see that. The light here is playing with the focus, but it does say Victor Einex Swiss made, and then under that is stainless. We do have nothing on the other side of the blade. If we look at another authentic Swiss Army knife, oh wow, that doesn't want to focus at all, but trust me, it says Victor Einex Swiss made and stainless, just the same as this one. However, on the other side, oh, there we go. Well, maybe I just have to hold it on an angle. Okay. Well, now my camera wants to sort of focus. So you might be able to make out Victor Einex Swiss made stainless. And then on this side, you got Officer Swiss. Or Swiss. I don't speak the Swiss language. Forgive me. So you will see that as well. And sometimes there will be other markings, depending on the age and the vintage. In the model, there are some other markings like rostery or something. I forget what it says. And sometimes you'll see like a little umbrella symbol. There are different symbols, and you can Google this to get the full listing of authentic Swiss Army knives. But typically fakes don't say Victor Einex, and there are some out there that are. I have seen some fakes that are stamped Victor Einex, but typically they don't. And they're usually only marked stainless, which brings me to my next point. This mystery steel. All we know is that this is stainless steel. We don't know what type of steel it is. This could have been a bumper out of a Chinese school bus before it was melted down and pressed, stamped out into this wonderful creation. Now, typically I would say anything that's just stamped stainless, run away from. But I do want to throw some caveats out there, some honorable mentions. Just because it says stainless is the only blade marking doesn't necessarily mean that it's a junk steel. This is a Mora Garberg, and it's simply stamped stainless. It doesn't say anywhere else what type of steel it's made from. And forgive me, I think it's like a 14 CR27N or something like that. I'll annotate that when I to know exactly what that is. I don't remember offhand exactly what it is. That's a Mora Garberg. It's certainly not a crap steel at all. For another reference, this is a Grohmann Canadian belt knife, and it too is only stamped. There we go. There we go. Stainless at the very bottom, number 1 stainless. This is made out of German 4116 high carbon stainless steel. Again, it's not a crap steel, so just because it says stainless doesn't necessarily mean it's a crap steel. I do appreciate companies that do stamp, on the blade tang. There we go. Spyderco VG10. Okay, I do appreciate when the manufacturer puts the blade steel on the blade. In fact, I wish that was a law, actually. Honestly, that should be a law. If you ask me, it should be law. You have to stamp the blade steel on the side of the blade tang. I'm just kidding, folks. So just because it says stainless doesn't necessarily mean it's a crap steel. But in today's case, I can guarantee this is a crap steel. So the other thing too is when you look at the tools, all of the tools are rounded off. This can opener isn't even remotely sharp. Now this is the lobster claw style. That's like the Wenger styled can opener. But if we open up, the can opener on this knife, it is razor sharp. Now it is razor sharp because I've stropped it and sharpened it. I also modified this one to make it into a spoon gouge. So let's actually look at one that's not been modified. Here's a better example. So this is what the standard can opener mini flathead looks like. And you can see it has a sharpened bevel. Okay, and this is sharp. I mean, it's not razor sharp, not like that one, but it is sharp. Okay, and that's to help you with penetrating into a can. And this one here is completely flat. Like it's not sharp at all. This wouldn't. I would be doubtful you'd be able to open a can with any such luck with this guy. Of course, the fish scaler thing I already talked about. Oh man, I can't even get this thing out. Ugh, forget that. You know, the Phillips. I mean, it's all rounded. Like this isn't going to bite into a screw at all. What's this piece of junk? Oh, a nail cleaner thing. Look at that file. It's just metal lines carved into it. It's not even a file. I mean you can kind of hear it, but it's not filing my nail at all. You know, like a useless thing. This corkscrew, very flimsy corkscrew. This thing would likely break if you tried to actually pull a cork out of a wine bottle or something. So, I mean, I can squeeze that. I don't know if you can see that moving. Just extremely lousily built. Lousily, is that even a word? You know, versus, I mean, like this is an all metal version, so it's kind of trying to imitate this guy here, the Alox. And I mean, the Alox is rock solid. I mean, it's got two huge slabs of this Alox or aluminum material. And I mean, everything about this is solid. You know, I mean, there's no blade play whatsoever. Very solid, strong. I mean, even though this is a non-locking knife, it would take considerable force to cause this to close inadvertently. You know, like when you hold on to this, you know you're holding on to a piece of quality. Okay? And, you know, this thing here, where's that knife again? Also, this knife is dull. Okay? I've got butter knives in my drawer, in my kitchen drawer. I mean, that are sharper than this thing. So, you know, and look at that. Look at that. You can even hear that. I mean, very, very weak spring. All kinds of blade play, left, right, up and down. You know, if this was in like your survival kit and you actually had to depend on this to survive with, I don't know, this flimsy pocket or lanyard loop thing here, which it didn't even come with a little ring like most Swiss Army knives do. I mean, that tells you something. Every Swiss Army knife comes with one of these rings. Now, of course, this guy's got the Key Smart little pocket clip on it. And of course, this one here, I've got a lanyard on it attached to it with these ranger beads on it. So yeah, I mean, if you look at everything here, like just much thicker, better quality. You know, it's not wiggly. Well, this one doesn't even have an awl. I mean, just every tool. What does this guy have in him? Again, he's got a saw. That's right. Now, this one doesn't have a saw. He's a fish scaler. But again, every tool is solid. You know, positive lockup. No blade play. Again, strong detent to keep that from accidentally, inadvertently folding shut. And now, of course, this guy has the handle scale tools, which this one doesn't, but that's because this one has the metal scales. It's more in line with the Alox. So anyway, I just wanted to take a quick minute to just kind of point out, you know, fake versus real. If you've got something like this in your collection, these things are not that much money. I mean, you can get into a Swiss Army knife, an authentic Swiss Army knife. Here in Canada, you can get into one for like $30. Well, maybe a little bit more than $30. Maybe for the SD Classic, but for like a camping model like this, you can get at Walmart for like, I think $39.99, so 40 Canadian dollars. I mean, and you have twice the knife this thing is any day of the week. And I would much rather have this in my survival kit than this thing any day. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. Thanks for watching. Singing Toad signing out.